So for those of you looking for an easy upgrade over your stock steering wheel, as we all know, leather steering wheels on GM products don't seem to last long. I would suggest using the Grant airbag steering wheel. It's a Revolution steering wheel. This one set me back about $230. We're going through the process here of how to remove the airbag first. There's two little holes on either side. Using a small flathead screwdriver, you should be able to go through the back, and from there you'll be able to just push in, and it should release one side at a time, and you'll be able to pull the airbag forward. Now that you have the airbag forward, you're going to need to disconnect the horn, which is that red wire. You'll have to turn to the left, and then also remove the airbag. Make sure, of course, like I said before, you've unhooked the battery. These are pinch connectors, so you just go ahead and pinch on the connector, and it should just go ahead and slide off. So once that's done, you want to go ahead and move the airbag over to your passenger side floor, facing up. Not that there's a likely chance it would go off, but just to be safe. So our next step here is going to go ahead and remove the horn actuation assembly, and that's held in by 4 Torx head bolts. So those are the tools you'll need to go ahead and remove them. On a lot of these trucks, the horn itself stops working. It's actually quite an easy fix. Where that red wire came out, where you turn it to the left, there's corrosion that can build up in there, and that's usually where your problem is. And in my case, that's what it was. Some sandpaper and a Q-tip. Usually you can clean it up and you can reinsert the wire, or you can just replace the wire itself, but you would have to go to the dealership to get that part. So I'm going to go ahead and remove these. Make sure when you take things out that you remember how they went in. I kind of turned this around on myself, so I had to stare at it for a little bit to figure out how I had removed it. So that's it coming out right there. The next step here is going to be disconnecting the switches. There's a little harness in the middle there. You're going to go ahead and squeeze it. It's another pinch connector, and that will remove it. There's my son, who's being helpful. So you got a flathead screwdriver. What you're going to do is you're going to reach in on the inside there and very gently push forward and release the switches. You want to be careful though when you do this, because you don't want to damage the wiring when you're pushing the buttons out. As you can see, removing that one, that's actually a pretty ugly looking one. So I will be replacing that volume switch. I think I skipped over it because it was kind of stuck. This is describing how to remove these connectors. There's a little push connector right there. And if you take your flathead screwdriver, you can actually, when you push it forward, you can like click the little clip and it should pop right on out. So that's actually kind of helpful. Just don't tug on anything, because there's not a lot of slack here with the steering wheel still on. You could actually probably should wait till the steering wheel's off to do this. I don't know what I was thinking here, because it was disconnected. I could have just left it, but that's here nor there. So I'm doing it with it on. A lot of these things, hopefully it helps you save time, but you can really wait to remove the switches until after the steering wheel is off. That way you can take the clip out and it will loosen the harnesses, so you have a little bit more slack on the wiring. So now I'm going to go ahead and remove the steering wheel itself. It's a 21mm impact socket. You don't need an impact socket, you need a 21mm socket to remove it, and a 1/2" socket wrench. So there it goes. Obviously a lot of this video has been sped up, so I don't want to waste you guys' time. I want you guys to kind of see everything that went on. I did get a steering wheel removal kit, and it was too small. That was from AutoZone. It was a Lona tool, but it took me a while staring at it to realize it's not made for what I was doing. What I do next, I don't suggest you guys do unless you've removed the steering wheel before. I've had to remove steering wheels by tugging on them, but you just gotta be really careful because there's a clock spring behind there. If you pull on it too hard, it pulls that wiring, you're out $80 because we're gonna have to replace that clock spring. And that's the part of this that controls the wiring going to the steering wheel. It's very easy to do. So right now, I realize I'm adding the sound here. And you hear that sound, you see how it will clip forward? I put my legs in front to block the steering wheel from pulling too far forward, because if it would have pulled too far forward and pulled on those airbag wires, it would have definitely ripped them out, and that would have been a bad day. So I suggest that you make sure that the steering wheel puller that you get is the right size. I just didn't feel like stopping. That's my fault. Also here, Torx head wrenches, you gotta be careful, because sometimes it'll feel like you have the right size because it took them off, but when I go to put them back on, I'll realize that the wrong size Torx head is actually a T20 Torx head, not a T15. So next thing I'm doing here is removing the actual wiring itself, and you just go ahead and slide it out from its assembly, and you just want to be careful to do it. And here's a new one of those pliers, and you're going to squeeze the back of the connector there, and it's going to allow the connector to come forward. So that's out of the way. Everything, like I said, when you're pulling it out, you want to make sure that you take notes of how it's been installed. So there it is. That's the original steering wheel. Really crappy. Feels really crappy. It's the thing I like the least about my truck. The Grant steering wheel, much better. I picked mine up on Amazon. They said it was about $240 or so. It's brand new leather, Burl Wood. You can get them in different shapes and everything. I mean, no, it's different materials. And so if you don't like that, you can obviously go with a different material. You can go with all leather. While you have this apart, you might as well clean up everything, because it's going to, being 10 years old, it's going to be kind of dusty inside. Same thing with the wires. The wires get a little sticky, so you just want to wipe them off and get any kind of crud off of them you can. Now, I didn't put anything protective on the steering wheel itself when I'm doing this. I should have, just in case it got scratched, but nothing bad happened. But maybe a quick suggestion for anyone who's working on this. Now, I got ahead of myself here too. You can see how I'm rerouting the wires here. I should have probably waited until I connected the switches, because now I've taken all the slack out of the wire, and I'm just kind of getting ahead of myself here. I'm just like, oh yeah, this is working great. Here's my T15, which is the wrong size, which I'm about to figure out because I can't tighten these wires up. Tighten the bolts up. And any second here, I'm gonna go, oh, that's wrong. There we go, correct. Torx T20. So now I'll go ahead and tighten those up. Even though this is the wrong thing to do, I should have left the wire unclipped so that I could give myself more slack. Instead, I took away all my slack, and I kind of had a fight with these. Here's my old switch. That's the one I replaced. About $20 or so. You can get a brand new one. It's definitely worth it. So going one wire at a time, going one switch at a time, I'm trying to do this. And it wasn't too hard on the first two. But when you get down to the second two, that's where you have no slack whatsoever. And that's where you kind of have to go, wait a second, what did I do here? And that's when I figured out I should have left the cover off and left the wire disconnected. So right here you can see that I took the back off and unclipped it. That's where I'm figuring it out right now. So you can see me. Leave harness clip disconnected, install string buttons. Otherwise, wires are too short. So there I go, and taking that clip off. And wow, look at that! Now I have tons of slack in the wire. So there it is. That's put on there. Now I'm going to go ahead and clean the buttons. The buttons you're reusing obviously are going to be a little dirty, so take that chance to clean it. Use Q-tips, whatever. As you can see now, see how much easier that was, and that goes right on in there. All said and told, I think this took me about 45 minutes. If you take my suggestions here and use the shortcuts or not do the idiot things, you probably can do it in about half the time. So you can see there, putting the last switch in there. Make sure you click them down and lock into place. Another suggestion that I would give you is to make sure you route the wires properly. If you have to, take a picture of how they went on there, just so you don't squeeze that down onto the wire harness itself. So there we go. We're going to go ahead and put the bolts back in there, or screws back in there, and just wanted to take an eyeball and make sure everything looks okay. In this case, it does. You really want to take your time so you don't make any mistakes. There's an arrow on top of the shaft there, and actually on the steering wheel, where it'll tell you how to line it up. Actually pretty cool, so it saves you a little time. So you don't have to put a marker on it. Usually I use a mark, but that way you just slide on right on there. There goes that 21mm bolt. Go ahead and put that back on there. And I'm going to go ahead and tighten that sucker up. Like I said, a lot of this has been sped up just so the parts you need to see, you can see. So you want to tighten up, where you push your two legs up against the steering wheel so you can kind of add some back force. And really, just tight is good enough. You can look at the torque spec if you like, but just past tight should be fine. Here's a horn actuation assembly again, and you can see I'm pointing at the area where it disengages the airbag, and there's a little hole there too. Then you can match those up if you get kind of screwed up on how it went in there. You want to tighten one side at a time, and don't fully tighten one before you get to another, because you may throw the alignment off. So just take your time. You see there, that's nice and tight. See how I went back and tighten that other one. Same thing. You don't want to tighten one and not go back. See, same thing. You then you go back and tighten another one. So there it is. The horn actuation assembly is in there. Now you should test your horn. Once you put this in, you'll put that in there. And then turn it about a quarter turn to the right, and that'll tighten it in and lock it into place. You may have to play with it a little bit. It's definitely something I can't show you. You'll have to do by feel. But this time you definitely want to test your horn before you put the airbag back in, which I went ahead and did. I just cut it out of here. So once that's done, you go ahead and reconnect the pinch connectors in the airbag. I mean, people pound on their horns all the time, so I don't know why people are so scared of airbags. It takes a big charge to set that airbag off. So there it is. It's all installed. You want to shake it around a little bit, press it, make sure everything feels okay. Nothing feels locked up. You don't hear any noises. So there it is, locked in. And isn't that beautiful? Easy upgrade, and it will do a lot for you.